Welcome back to Woodward Sports, everybody. We got our baseball fix. I'm going to get you some football now, some Lions news. Matt Roeder, of course, one of our Lions beat reporters alongside Gabby and Terry Foster. So you weren't there today, but good things happened today, a little bit on Jameson Williams. And, well, who's calling me? Oh, someone that doesn't know I'm on the air is calling me. Nonetheless, good things happening in camp, especially with Jameson Williams. Dan Campbell was asked about Jamo. How are you going to use him in the preseason, Dan?
In Jamo, those reps in the preseason games.
It's going to be huge. I mean to cut you off. Are you done with that, or are you going to keep going?
All you.
It'll be imperative. I mean, we're going to douse him with a ton of game reps. He needs that, you know. He needs that, you know, as he does practice. But man, and I'm telling you, as with anybody, the more reps he gets, the more time on tests, the more consecutive practices and reps he can put together, he'll just grow. I really believe that, you know. And I do believe he wants it. I do believe he wants to get better. I do believe. So he'll grind through this, and let's see where we can go with it.
I kind of liked everything about that, except I didn't like the end of that. Did you hear him? He's like rubbing his head, and that's when he gets upset, when he starts taking his hat off. And he's like, yeah, you know, he wants to get better. You know, he's going to put the work in as he's rubbing his head. That's a telltale sign to me that I don't think maybe he's working as hard.
You're reading his body language.
I am totally reading his body, and I'm not saying it's just to get people going. People know how I feel about this kid. I think he's made, you know, a couple of mistakes. He doesn't look good in the public view, the public eye, to me at least. He's got that laissez-faire attitude, and I know he's a speeder, he's a burner, but he's going to have 6 weeks off to himself. And I'm going to see what the hell he's made of then. But right now, just reading Dan Campbell's body language. And guys, I'm in the chat. I want to ask you too. Maybe I'll play the end of that again. Parker, let me know when you have that ready to go for the last 10, 15 seconds. But I want you guys to watch Dan Campbell's body. Just the way he's pulling his hat off. You know the deal with him. Check it out again.
He'll just grow. I really believe that, you know. And I do believe he wants it. I do believe he wants to get better. I do believe. So he'll grind through this, and let's see where we can go with it.
Okay, he'll grind through it. Am I wrong?
No, it was an interesting interview because his body language and the tone of his voice, it changed throughout the whole, not just the whole press conference, but the whole comment on Jameson Williams.
It's a sore subject around that. Let's face it.
Well, I think they're just partially sick of it too.
Yeah.
Like it's, you know, the Jamo discussion, we could legitimately have like a segment a day about just Jamo strictly.
Right.
But he's not wrong about the reps. Like you go back to Jamo in college, first 2 years in college at Ohio State, of course, 15 catches. Like barely played, and then obviously at Alabama, that's what got him drafted. But then he missed most of his first season with the ACL. Now he's suspended. Like, although I defend Jamo, I think he's uber talented. He is right. Like, reps are one of the more important things for Jameson Williams.
And, you know, I was looking for Dan Campbell to come out and say, there's nothing to worry about.
Yeah, that's what I want to hear.
A couple drops, no big deal. But he kind of hyper-focused on the drops. Like, and maybe we're reading too far into it, but he was like, we don't expect him to be an elite, you know, pass catch, you know, a hands guy, which is fine. You know, he's got the wheels and he can affect the game in other ways, but I don't know why he needed to say that. You know, just say they're just drops, it's practice. But it's clear that they realize that they're not looking for him as a possession receiver. He's their weapon that when he's on the field.
But you got to catch it, Matt.
You do have to catch it. But I think they're in training camp. I believe they're more interested in seeing how he's performing in it's weird to say in other areas of football besides catching it. He's a receiver, but in all the other intangibles, like in the blocking game, blocking for running backs and receivers downfield. How is his route running and route recognition when the defense is playing zone? I think they're looking for a lot of different things, and just observing him, you know, his first full padded practice of his career on Monday, he just seems like a kid. Almost, he's itching to get out of his body. He's just got all this pent-up energy. He's been waiting to get out on the field, and he dropped a couple balls, and apparently he did today too. He dropped a couple more balls.
Mike O'Hara was on with us the other day, and he told us the kid drops a lot of passes. But he also said, I've never seen anyone as fast as him and get separation like him. And, and I know they're all sick of all these questions. Parker, what do you got, man?
Yeah, I mean, when I was at training camp the other day, on Monday, I mean, you could see the absolute, just talent on this kid. I mean, there were several plays where, I mean, maybe he didn't catch the ball, but he's there's a large amount of separation between the two guys. I mean, Starling Thomas V and him got in a couple scuffles the other day just because of, I mean, it's hard to guard the guy that's that fast. So
yeah, I think you look at the receiver, his love for the game. That's what Dan talks about, and there's no doubt Jamo loves football. They ask him questions, he handles them perfectly. As people might question his character, I thought it was great when they asked him just about the time he'll be off. First thing he said, "Yeah, I'm flying my trainer in. We're gonna get working." That's what you want to hear. It's always difficult for a guy like Jamo walking into a situation where there's already a number one wide receiver in Amon-Ra St. Brown, and he's the exception to work ethic. He is the all. We're talking about working hard.
Follow him around.
Absolutely, but he's always going to be compared to that. Amon-Ra doesn't drop balls. He's catching 202 after practice, 202 balls. Whether Jamo, it's just unfortunate. You're always going to be compared to that guy. His work ethic.
Khalif Raymond's working on the jugs machine as well, 200 plus.
Absolutely, but I want to say just because he's not Amon-Ra and has that type of mentality doesn't mean he can't be great.
No.
I know people look at it well, he dropped a couple balls.
But maybe he should be catching 200 balls after practice. Maybe he should.
Potentially.
And maybe he will, right?
Yeah.
We'll see.
Or maybe he is inside. There are parts of the day that us as the media or even people watching practice, they have other parts of their day-to-day game plan that they're executing inside the building. So
I get it.
Who knows? But you're right. I heard from talking to some of the guys down at camp today, there was 15 or 20 people waiting after practice, practicing after practice today. Got my words mixed up a little bit. So that Amon-Ra mentality is starting to pay off. But man, Jameson Williams, he has potential to be arguably the most electric player in the entire NFL. His
potential.
Speed is exactly potential.
Yeah.
Potential.
He's caught one pass, right?
Yeah.
One touchdown.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it goes. Preseason, he's going to get a lot of work. Hopefully, he stays healthy. Another guy, and I want to show you this. This is what I want Dan Campbell to look like when he's talking about Jameson Williams. He's talking about Denzel Mims here. Check this out.
I like Mims. Here's the first thing that shows up to me, aside from the size, because he is, he's kind of an imposing figure for a receiver out there at X. But man, he's physical. You get up there and press him, and it shows up. It's different. He can fight out there. He can battle versus press. And here's the other thing I love. He's never been a special teams guy. We told him from day one, man, you got to do some things. We need to see if you can do some things on teams. And to his credit, a guy who's never really done it, I mean, he's out here, he's going. And Phip and I were talking about him last night. We're watching these clips. I'm like, this guy's just competing, And now he's got a ways to go. He's raw in some things. We don't know. But, man, I appreciate the fact the guy has come in and doing everything. He said he would. He said, Coach, I'll do whatever, and I'll give you whatever I got. And he's doing it. So I respect the heck out of that. He's somebody that I'm really, man, I want to see if he can take another step, and there's some things he can do for us on offense.
Okay. To me, that sounds like a guy that this guy loves. And I know he's got to try to pump the kid up to try to make the team.
Right.
Jameson's got a free pass. He's a number one pick. He's a golden child. He's got a spot. But doesn't that sound different to you?
That's what you want him to say about Jameson Williams.
That's when you know Dan Campbell is at ease.
Yeah, all right, Mims isn't, dominating in practice, but we like what we see. We like how he competes. He's willing to do everything. That's what we want to hear about Jamo, and so that's why it sort of sticks out. Mims is battling for a spot, and he's one of those guys that could solidify that X position, especially when Jamo's out. I think we're looking at Mims versus Antoine Green as possibly taking that spot. There might be an undrafted free agent that could make his way up the depth chart too, but I do believe it's Mims versus Antoine Green. How do you feel about that, Jeff?
It's tough because Denzel Mims, I know Lions fans are going to try and hype up anybody we get, but there is legitimate hype with Denzel Mims. Physically, he is imposing. And you look back to last year, all the big plays that Jared had, I mean, a couple to Cleef, but mostly it was who? DJ Chark, the guy that was able to stretch the field. 6'4", runs a 4.3. I mean, now you got Mims, 6, not saying he's Chark, but a guy that can fill that void and hopefully just be a deep threat, especially the first 6 games. You need another guy.
And it's a guy
without Jamo.
Yeah, it's a guy or a position that doesn't need 6 catches for 125 yards.
Right.
They just need to be that deep threat, like DJ Chark was, that it forces the defense to game plan around that and to adjust their schemes, knowing that that is an option. And it's even more amplified with Jameson on the field because Jameson isn't just a deep threat. In fact, he's more of a underneath threat. Get him the ball in space and let him go.
Facts.
So I know most people think he's just a deep threat. Like Jared Goff can't even hit him deep. It's like that's maybe the smallest part of his game with the Lions. So
Good call.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how they use him, how Ben Johnson uses him in that offense in week 7 on.
And Maz, too, you look at the wide receiver core. I mean, Amon-Ra St. Brown's the only one that you know for certain will be, he'll get his fair share of targets.
Yep.
Besides that, through the first 6 games, Josh Reynolds, and he's solid, but Mims can really break way into this.
Did you see the original Amon-Ra St. Brown get hurt in Rams practice? Talking about Cooper Kupp. Guy don't drop any passes either. Got hurt his hamstrings. Going to be out a few weeks at least. And that's not good if you're a Rams guy. I don't think the Rams are going anywhere, but who the hell knows? But that's what you want. You need the health, guys, right? If you guys stay healthy, you got a chance to win. If Amon-Ra St. Brown goes down, you got trouble.
Right.
You got trouble. Now, Sam Laporta hurt his ankle a few days ago. I think you were at that practice, Parker, on Monday. He came back today. He's on the field, and hopefully he's at 100%. But what do you think of Sam Laporta so far?
Yeah, it was a mystery when he left practice on Monday. All the other reporters are there. We couldn't figure out why. We didn't see an injury happen.
Why. Yeah.
Now we know it was a minor ankle injury, and he's been out there today at practice. Sam Laporta he's been fun to watch. He's all business. I mean, he's a fun guy, so he's got a great personality. You hear him talk in press conferences, but he's also, when he's on the field, he is all business. Whether it's in individual drills, 11-on-11s, 7-on-7s, he's putting in work in not only at a traditional tight end spot with James Mitchell on the field, with Brock Wright on the field, or as the single tight end.
I forgot about James Mitchell.
Yeah, we can definitely get to him because he's quietly ascending
I want to hear
up
that.
the depth chart. But Laporta, what he looks like in the pass game, it doesn't look like a tight end. This is a name that not many people are going to enjoy me talking about, but it's similar to what we thought T.J. Hawkinson could bring in terms of an athleticism, a route running standpoint a little farther down the field. What Sam Laporta has done in the blocking game, in the run game, and blocking downfield after other passes, that's where I was watching him the last couple days, and whether he's missed a block here or there or not, he's so focused on developing that aspect of his game, which is something Ben Johnson has talked about in his press conference. We want to see how some of these rookies, and especially tight ends, other than Brock Wright, which they're very comfortable with, but these tight ends,
Won the Jets game last year.
Yeah, how do they respond when it starts to get physical? When they put pads on Monday, how's Laporta going to respond to that? And he looked good.
He's from tight end U in Iowa, so we'll see how he does. Jeff, what's your thought on Sam?
I love him. I think he'll be the best tight end out of this
Flannel,
class.
I'm talking about Laporta.
I love Flannel too, but Sam Laporta I think will be the best tight end out of this class, and I think there's a lot of upside there. With Laporta, especially with this tight end room. You go back last year, Maz, and I know people like to say, and I would agree with this sentiment to some extent, but Lions didn't even need T.J. Hawkinson, and they were able to do without him. Right. But let's not act like T.J. was some bum either.
No, he's not.
So that's the part I disagree with. Exactly. We're never going to pay him. But what happened is after T.J. left, you talk about the tight end, the production from that room, and now you're dropping in a guy that I think walks in day one as the best tight end. And I know James Mitchell, there's some love there. And I was, me, Booner, Mike, and Lucas were at training camp Sunday, and we got to see the second team and James Mitchell working in with the second team. He was making plays. And I know it is a second team, but that shows if you're playing above the level you're at, he deserves some love too.
Until he got hurt at Va Tech, he was going to be a first-round pick.
Yeah. Would it have been the top tight end out? I can't remember who won it.
He wouldn't have been.
But he would have been
first or second round, they said.
Guaranteed. And it was ACL injury that bumped him back. But we also saw when Zylstra got injured, I was waiting to see
sucks, by the way.
how it does. And I was waiting to see what their decision was going to be on the roster. Were they going to sign a new tight end, or are they just comfortable with with the 3 there.
They did bring another tight end.
They brought in 2.
Yeah.
So they released Derek Deese Jr.
Yep, Derek Deese.
and added 2 tight ends, Darren Daniels and Daniel Helm.
Good memory.
So they're going to be competing probably for that 4th spot.
Yeah.
At the very least, they're probably looking to get some
Practice
NFL film to show to other teams if it doesn't work out. But I guess long-winded answer what I was saying. They value the tight end position, whether they're pass catchers or blockers. They're going to utilize them in their offense in many different ways. So it was interesting to see that transaction after Zylstra went down.